there, welcome back. We're going to talk about Sam Peckinpah's The Getaway, which is a film made in the early 70s, starring Steve MacQueen, just after Junior Bonner had bombed. This was his big hit, really. I mean, he made The Wild Bunch, which was a big hit, and then he made Straw Dogs, which did well, but was very controversial. He made Junior Bonner, which was not well received, and then he made this, which was another successful film, even though he wasn't very happy with it, apparently. But from other sources, he liked the money after it, because it did bring in money to him through years afterwards, because it was a successful film that kept on delivering. I think the problem was it was a commercial film that he probably wasn't. He did not originate it, and it was written by Walter Hill. So Steve MacQueen had already got the property and had hired a writer and had already kind of packaged the whole thing before Peckinpah got there. So when he worked with MacQueen on Junior Bonner, it was a Peckinpah film that starred Steve MacQueen. It didn't do very well, but it was a Peckinpah film. This was a Steve MacQueen film directed by Sam Peckinpah. That's different. It's like, no matter what Peckinpah wanted to do the film, it was still a Steve MacQueen film. He was still in charge of it. The producer was his friend. He was coming off Le Mans, so he was interested in doing a big, a commercial film, because Le Mans was a nightmare production. Even though it did okay at the end of the day, it was still one of those ones that was difficult. So, and I think he was definitely protecting his image with this film. He wanted his image to be good, so it was a star vehicle. It was a commercial film. So Peckinpah got involved in a commercial film, and then I think later on he kind of regretted it to a degree, because he said that Steve MacQueen insisted on close-ups being put back in of him that Peckinpah didn't like. And by watching the film, it's like I did not see any signs of that. I mean, MacQueen has close-ups, but so does everyone else, and the close-ups seem to signify a lot of stuff you need to know, and a mood, so it doesn't feel like it feels like decent storytelling. So maybe Peckinpah was pulling back a little bit from the characters a bit more. Maybe MacQueen wanted it to be a bit more character-based. Also, Peckinpah had his own composer who was fired, and Quincy Jones came in and did the score. Again, I don't know what the original score was. The score in this film is really nice. It's a really well done score. It really helps the film with momentum, because it's a film that has a momentum to it, but it also has lots of small episodic stories. But the score really helps push it forward. So I think Peckinpah maybe was annoyed because he maybe liked the little details more than the kind of commercial narrative thrust of the film. But the film's great fun. The film's really enjoyable. I mean, it's not Peckinpah's best one, but it's really well made. You can tell that it's faster paced than a Peckinpah film. Like Pat Garrett and Billy Kid or Wild Bunch. This is a slightly faster pace. There's a bit more get up and go to it, which it probably was MacQueen's insistence. But there's some gorgeous stuff throughout it. I mean, there's moments where you go back and forth. The opening is great. The opening is MacQueen getting turned down for parole, and you've seen him in the jail. You see him going back and forth in time, in his headspace as he's doing different things in the jail. And you just see the frustration build. And it tells you why he takes a deal with the villain to get out of jail to do a job for him, just to escape from this hellhole. And it's just wonderfully done. And then when MacQueen comes out of the jail, his dislocation within the landscape, and then he's trying to return to life, and he's trying to figure things out, and it's still intercutting the past and the future. You see him doing something before you see him do the act to get to it. And that kind of dislocation actually adds a lot to the film. So you see him smiling and being happy at times. You also see the dislocation as well. And it's a sense of a person in two minds, really. He's a suspicious side of him, and you've got the romantic side of him. And it's, for a Peckinpah film, it is a bit more romantic and a bit more upbeat, which maybe was the problem for Peckinpah. It was like, at the end of it, the characters do get away. It's got to get away and get away at the end. And, there's a happy ending essentially. They get away with a lot of money, and it's like maybe Peckinpah wanted something darker because the novel is darker. The novel has a dark ending. They go to El Rey, which is this hellhole in Mexico where you give up some of your loot and you get to stay there and protect people from the law. And it's a place where people turn on each other, and it's a brutal, awful place, you know. Which you don't get in this. You don't even get a suggestion at the end of this film. This film is an ending that's like quite happy. In this film, you get the feeling of they go through the marital issues. Him and Alan McGraw as his wife. They go through the marital issues as they're doing a getaway, and by the end of it, they've figured it out. So it is a kind of commercial film in that regard. I mean, she has to sleep with the villain who's setting up the job to get him to go along with it. And he thinks they're going to turn to McQueen, and it turns out not to be the case. So there are some double crosses, and after that he's very distant with her for a while. And eventually they make up. You've also got the Rudy, the other sidekick, who turns on him after the job is successful. I mean, it's a successful heist. A couple of things go wrong, but the heist goes well. They get away. It's getting away from each other. After that's the problem, because everyone's double-crossing each other. So, Al Lettieri plays Rudy, and he's great. He's a total scumbag who you want to see horribly killed throughout the film. Because he's injured, he kidnaps a dentist and his wife. He ends up brutalising the dentist and seducing the wife, and turning the dentist into a suicide by the end of it. And his stuff, every time he turns up, is great, because he's having so much fun with the character. You can tell Peckinpah's loving this stuff. And it's just wonderful, because you're waiting for him and McQueen to finally face off again, because McQueen shot him early on. And you know they hate each other. They hated each other before they did the job, and they just want to kill each other just for the sake of killing each other. And it's just a wonderful tension that's always there. And all the scenes with Rudy are just great. McQueen stuff's great fun too. I mean, there's a point where his wife gets conned by this guy who steals her money, and there's a chase through the train. Played by Richard Bright, who was in the Godfather films as one of the background guys for Al Pacino. He's always a guy who's always in these films. And so that scene's terrific with him as this con man. There's scenes where McQueen's character Doc has now actually been identified as one of the bank robbers, so they have to go in the alarm basically, and they're getting chased along by the police. And there's lots of quick scrapes, and there's a point where they have to go into they end up in a rubbish tip to escape from the police at one point. There's lots of really nice sequences. McQueen with a shotgun. McQueen was in the military before he became an actor, and you can tell he's very good with guns, so he can just do stuff very quickly without any affectation to how hard it is. Just like, this is easy. Boom. You know. And it's a pleasure to watch because it's so well done. It's like, he knows what he's doing. And it sells the character. And McQueen early on as a heist guy, the guy who's planned it all out, you know, is great because he's very calm and he doesn't let people doesn't let anyone get to him, even if people try to prod at him. He's like, just do your job. You know what your job is, and you know what your position is to do it. You know, very simple. And throughout the film, McQueen's very simple always. There's always a sense of a volcano below. Especially deal with his wife, because his wife is his escape from the kind of horribleness of life, because she was a bit more naive than he was, and the fact that she get corrupted by his world is the thing that he's kind of fighting against as he goes on. And he kind of takes it out on her for a while, and then eventually he kind of comes around, and eventually they get to become a team again. But it takes a while, so that's the kind of drama throughout the film. Probably Peckinpah wanted it darker, is my guess. I'm sure that was kind of the frustration that it had to be a commercial project. They had to get back together again. It was like, there was just some things in this kind of project that had to happen. And it's a really well made film. It's one of those films, I think if you see it too young, it'll seem like a case of, because it's a crime movie, where the first third you get the crime and then it's a getaway. But it's a lot of small incidents. It's not like a full-on action movie. It's a crime movie. So I think people who are young might get frustrated because they're expecting more action. But if you like character stuff, if you like character actors in a crime movie with a movie star at the centre, you're going to really enjoy this one. This is a great example of a star vehicle done by an auteur who's probably frustrated by the experience, but boy was he delivering on the action, on the mood, on everything. He delivered everything this film needed, and the direction's terrific. But he probably needed prodding to get there. That's my guess. He's probably like kept on pushed. Like, you have to be hearing this one. This one's a commercial film. So yeah, the Getaway is just great fun. I mean, it's a very slight plot. Ultimately, it's just a getaway, but how well it's done and how well the characters are slowly built up, so you always get a sense of danger. Because you know Rudy character's always waiting. There's these other guys who attack the lead villain. After he gets killed, they're after the money as well. You've got a hotel in the Mexican border that they're all heading towards because they all know that's where Doc has to go to cross the border. So you've always got that sense of we're slowly heading towards a shootout. So even though these things aren't shootouts or maybe there's a small action scene, we're heading towards a big shootout. When you get to it, it's a really satisfying shootout. People die in horrible ways they're just as this because some of the characters are total scumbags. And they're 70 scumbags, which means they're played by middle-aged guys with guts who look really mean and really nasty and are probably hungover as actors, is my guess. It's a Peckinpah film. There's a lot of drinking in those films. Like, half the cast look hungover most of the time in this film, and it's great. That's what you want from Peckinpah film. So yeah, it's very enjoyable. I'd highly recommend it. It's one of those ones, watch the biggest screen as possible because you're going to miss a lot. Just the way Peckinpah puts things together, it really looks gorgeous. So go see it. You can probably find it on streaming or physical media. You know, I've got a Blu-ray of it. It's well worth your time. So I'll see you next time. Bye for now.